All right, we are live. Cam Falloon, welcome to the future of fitness, my friend.
Thanks, Eric. So good to see you again, mate.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I've been excited for this since we scheduled it months and months ago. What you're doing at Body Fit Training and collaboration. We'll kind of get into the relationship with Exponential, what that means. I mean, you're in Vegas right now, in
Yeah.
Australia, and in Vegas. What could go wrong, right?
What could go wrong? Yeah. Hey, I'm alive and kicking, so I should make my plane home.
Yeah, good. But I know you're meeting with the Exponential team there, and we'll get some details on what you guys are talking about, what you guys are planning, what you're focusing on. I think that's a really great value to the audience here. But maybe we could start with this, Cam. It's just you have an interesting background, man. You come from a lot of athletics. You've lived and breathed athletics and fitness for a long time. So I'd love to hear the backstory. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I won't go on for too long, but I got into this field through a personal injury. I was told that I had a pretty serious back injury. I was told I'd never be active again. Get yourself a desk job, which when I was 18 and was pretty hard to fathom. And so that led me down the path of studying. That was in the early 1990s, and sort of sports science, exercise rehabilitation, strength and conditioning wasn't what it is today back then. So I thought I've got to learn about this stuff. I've got to live with it. I need to deal with it. And I had a couple of light bulb moments through that journey where I was feeling better through doing strength training and rehabilitation, that there must be a lot of other people that have these sorts of ailments that aren't getting advice or aren't getting the appropriate treatments specific to their needs. And that really lit the fire in me to get my journey started in the industry. I started, funnily enough, doing PT in London, worked in the UK for 2.5 years doing PT. Fortunate to meet some great people and get mentored by some great people, and well documented. I trained Princess Diana and some other famous people, so that was an interesting experience. And then got back to Australia, continued to study. I also studied myotherapy. I have a master's in strength and conditioning. And so I've dabbled in sort of rehabilitation, working with orthopedics, physical therapists, and then in and out of elite sport, in and out of PT and gym world, doing gym management, gym sales, group training. But the last sort of part of my journey before BFT was about 15 years working with elite athletes, English Premier League soccer academies, and working in our national sport in Australia, Australian rules football. And that's the culmination, I guess, of that 30 odd years is what BFT is trying to bring that knowledge, that, I guess, elite, high performance thinking and programming methodologies to the mainstream, and to give them access to some training principles to keep them on a journey, to keep progressing them. I feel like we're in an industry where we're a bit lazy. It's easy just to flog members and flog PT clients, and as long as you get in a hard sweat and you die and you're on the floor at the end of the session, that's apparently a really good workout. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but there's a point of diminishing returns. So how do I bring some considered programming, and some considered thinking, much like you do with an elite athlete, because you don't have many opportunities, or you shouldn't have many instances where you get it wrong and you get they don't perform or they're injured and those sorts of things, because it's a lot of money and it's high stakes. So that's what BFT is. That's sort of a culmination of that 30 years of experience and passion, and trying to bring that to the world. And I did in 2015 a year of research to kind of understand the industry and see what was going on. And the sort of three key things that stood out for me, and one was the average lifetime of a PT was about 9 months. So here's a cohort of people who are investing in themselves. They're paying to learn, that they're wanting to have potentially a career in this industry, and then on average they last 9 months. So there's fundamentally a problem with the industry, and I can't put my finger on exactly what that is, but what if I could build a business model that allowed those people an affordable price point as an entry point to get into the industry, and a business model that could give them a good income as well as sustain a good lifestyle to keep them in the industry. So that was number one. Number two was the programming, which I touched on. How do we bring that elite training mindset, methodology, and thinking and consideration into the mainstream? And I'll just be clear that BFT is not for elite athletes. It is for the mainstream, but the progressive programming and taking people on a journey. Athletes peak in their late 20s, which means they're in a professional system for maybe 8, 9, 10 years before they're peaking. That's a lot of training. That's a lot of development. So why don't we bring that into the mainstream and give people the opportunity to go on a journey and learn those skills? Strength training is a skill and it takes practice. And so let's bring that and try and do that better. And then the third thing was education that I talked about. I've got a master's degree in strength and conditioning, and I've spent way too much time at university and read way too many research journals and articles, and a lot of education is going online. And we're in the people business. Nothing wrong with online education, but as a foundation, when you can get a certification as a trainer and do all of your training online in a business that is about people, and it's about movement. So how do you learn about movement online? I just found that strange. So we have an education vertical to our business. So it was,
awesome.
Build a business model, hopefully provide a really awesome training model, and then support them with ongoing education and professional development. That were the three things that I built the business off, and that I was hoping that if we could have 1,000 studios around the world one day, then I've kind of achieved my goal of putting a very small positive dent on the industry.
It's interesting to me when I hear you talk to Cam. It's like, not once did I hear. I mean, you mentioned 1,000 just now, right? 1,000 units. But prior to that, that was like the first time of any real like business metric that you mentioned. I didn't hear like X amount of revenue, X amount sold. Like, I didn't hear that. And what I like about it is, I think a lot of times, and Dan Wymura, Push Press, explains this really well, like, having your North Star metrics be focused on value, right? Not necessarily, because, all the other business metrics that we care about, revenue, profit, churn, all those things are very important, right? Can't be understated. But we sometimes lose sight of like, okay, are we providing the value to the people that we want to provide value to at the highest level? And that will oftentimes turn into the metrics on the business side that we want. So is that intentional by you to focus on those things? Has that shifted over the years? Like, or am I just observing something that's not really there?
No, you're spot on. It's a great observation. And I've just come from a meeting, to be honest, talking about this exact thing. That I think for me, and I draw on a lot of my experiences from elite sport, because it's such a great learning environment, and every day you're getting challenged and critiqued. It's it's very cutthroat when you're in that performance environment. And as a business, so take a sporting organization. You can be the best sporting organization and have the best marketing and sales and so on, but if your team's not performing, because that's the core product, right? If you aren't providing value there and you're supporting those people, then the rest of it is going to fall down. That's just the reality. You win the Super Bowl, your sales go up, all your merchandise sales go up, et cetera, et cetera. Sponsors want to get on board and pay more. And so I agree with you. And that the value is a really good word, because 20 years ago, when I was doing gym sales, membership sales, we were selling a membership for $20 a week. Fast forward to 2023, we're still selling gym memberships for $20 a week. And I find that staggering. And it goes back to value, right? So we as a business in body fit training, we have a philosophy that we want to push our price to the top. We don't want to have a fight and be in that, that war of undercutting in the fitness industry and the price war. We want to push to the top, but you can only do that if you provide value. And we really focus on that. And our business certainly has ebbed and flowed, where we're focused on growth and we're focused on sales and, site AUVs, et cetera. And then we forget about providing value in the core member experience from the moment they walk into the studio. And then we go, oh my God, we're losing members. We've got a lot of churn. Let's focus on that now. And then we forget about the other thing. And it's like, how do we just get a system-wide consistency to provide value at all different levels and areas and verticals within our business, to try and get to provide value across a range of areas of the business from start to finish, so that we can keep our members for longer. If we keep them for longer, that's great for your business. As a business owner, you make more money. The member's going to have a better experience. They're probably going to get better results because they've got consistency with their training. if we can get them coming, we average 3.5 visitations a week across our whole member database.
Excellent.
It's actually up to 4.5 in some specific regions of the world, which is really cool. But the key thing goes back to your key word, which is value. You've got to focus on the value. And I've seen businesses that are just purely sales and growth focused, that they do grow quickly, and maybe the founders and the business owners get a little financial win, but then the business just goes downfall, and that's symptomatic, unfortunately, of our industry. It's very cyclical like that. So yeah, my lens on it is that's really important, and I talk passionately more about the core product. It's not that I don't focus on sales and store health and growth. It's just, if we can't get the core product right, if we can't get people to experience, enjoy BFT and understand where we sit in the marketplace, because we're not for everyone, just like CrossFit's an awesome product, but it's not for everyone. Yep. So we're just trying to be the best at what we're doing and provide that value in that member experience. If we can do that, that plays a big part in helping those other metrics. It's not the only part, but it plays a big part, and it makes all of that stuff a little bit easier. And healthy sites, as a franchise model, which we are, healthy sites that provide a great member experience, that are making money, helps you to then sell more sites. And as a brand, you grow from that. If you're struggling on that value point, it's a hard slog. It's a really, really hard slog.
There's obviously, you have a lot of people you need to keep happy, right? From where you're at, you have, I don't know if you have shareholders or not, we'll get into that in a bit, but you have that, right? You have your headquarters, you have your partner in Exponential, you have the franchisees, you have the end consumer. What I've heard you mention, which doesn't come up a lot, is the trainer and coach, right? Is providing value to them. And that to me is really interesting. I think that's, your background. And I know the guys in Metabolic are very similar. They're always educating the trainer, and that's important to them. So why, in particular, do you, putting words in your mouth, but do you have such a soft spot for the trainer? What?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. One is there's such a wide variance of experience and knowledge with a trainer. So you could do a university degree with a master's, and through that have been working in a gym or an organization where you're gaining the practical experience as well as the academic knowledge. Or you could do a certificate course and get a PT certificate in 6 months. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge expanse of knowledge. So that's one challenge that we have as an industry, I think, which we recognize. So therefore the education and the support around that's important. And then the other thing is that it doesn't matter whether you've done a master's or a certificate. It's unrealistic. It's an unrealistic expectation that when you set foot into an organization or on a gym floor, that you're an expert in kettlebell training and Olympic barbells and Olympic lifting, and you understand technology well, force plates, heart rates, accelerometers, you're an expert in suspension training. There's so many modalities, and it's just an unfair expectation that we're experts in all of these things. So we're okay knowing that we're not experts, but how do we then support people to become proficient in those things and hopefully light the fire in one or two of those, like, you know what, I really want to go down that Olympic lifting path. And if that leads people to leaving BFT because they're more passionate about a certain area of the fitness industry, I'm okay with that. Like we've done our job, so to speak. We're not doing our job if we're not upskilling them and developing to become really well-rounded. And I talk about other professions. If you're a lawyer or you're an accountant, well, there's just a baseline, that standard that everyone kind of has to go to. But every year you have to continue to update your qualification, your accreditation. So there's absolute standards. So I think as an industry, certainly some regions of the world do it better than others, but there's no real global standard, or even at a national level, often really hard, fast national standards as to what should it take to be a PT or a strength and conditioning coach in the NFL, as an example, or the NBA, because they're very different, right? They're very different skill sets and needs.
Yep.
So we just recognize that there's some flaws in that system. There's such a variance of skills and knowledge. And that's neither good nor bad. But if we've got passionate people who want to be here, let's do everything we can to support them. and keep them developing and growing. And if we do that, it flows into the member experience. The members are going to have a better time, get more out of their training, feel more engaged. So it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, so to speak. But you've got to keep building people up and give them the opportunity to grow and develop.
Yeah, well said. And I want to take a little bit of a step back here, Cam, and maybe you can give us insights about the business. Like, when did you actually launch your first location? When did the company start?
2016.
Okay.
Launched the first location. So we did a year of sort of R&D, and starting to build out all the technology and the software, and then did 4 test sites. So first one in 2016, June, and then November of 2016, and then a couple in 2017 mid-year. And that was, really important. It was learning lessons, making a lot of mistakes, getting feedback from members. What are they liking? What are they not liking? Getting that feedback, not just to evolve the programming, but understand how some of the challenges we're going to face to educate people on what we're doing and how we're doing it and why. And then learn the business. We got our first site wrong. The space was too small. We didn't have enough bums on seats. We got the multiples of equipment wrong. So next site, go a little bit bigger. We eventually got it right on the 4th site. And to be honest, not much has changed since then. We continue to innovate, but the actual space is very similar. The multiples of equipment are similar. So that 2 years was really critical. And probably the most important thing is making the mistakes.
Sure.
Because when you're a franchise business like us, people are investing, and the expectation is you have the processes and you have the answers. It's very hard to have the answers if you haven't walked in their shoes and you haven't made those mistakes. So that was a really valuable 2 years of learning, and then the ability to, once the system was built, to have people come and be able to actually experience it and touch it and feel it was also really valuable. We weren't just building it off one site. We could say, hey, we've got 4 different locations. Here's the actual, P&Ls that we've built the business model off. So it's real numbers. You can go and speak to the owners and the managers. So that was really, really valuable, a really valuable learning experience. And towards the end of that part, I took on some shareholders, Richard Burdett and Hamish McLaughlin. Hamish is a silent investor. Richard works in the business. He heads up all of our sales and marketing. He's an absolute gun, and he's now our global CEO. So
Nice.
that was a really good partnership and strategic partnership, because Rich could take that side of the business and I could continue to evolve my sweet spot, which was the program, the education, the software, and the innovation side of the business. So it's been a really good relationship, and largely in part why we've been able to grow and sustain the growth in such a short amount of time.
And where are you guys now? I mean, we're in Q4, 2023. Like, give us some insights into how the brand's grown since 2016.
Yeah, so we officially launched selling franchises in April of 2018.
Okay.
Off the back of those learnings from the 4 sites. So since then, we're currently at, including North America, we're just over 300 open locations across 7 countries.
Wow.
We've got over 700 sold across those countries, and we've just opened our 3rd studio in London, in the UK, which is really exciting. Spain's currently in development phase and going to be open in the new year, and we're looking at some other countries in Asia, Indonesia, and Korea. So it's really exciting. Expo have the brand in the US and are doing really good things with the brand in the US. It was awesome. Just been at the conference, as you said. I'm in Vegas, and so good just to see so many people in this part of the world that are so passionate, about a brand that started on my dining room table. It's pretty humbling, and really nice to see that they're just so passionate about it. They can't wait. Some have got their stores open, others are in development phase, and others are looking for real estate, but they're super passionate. And I think in America, actually, Eric, with how you do strength and conditioning here, which is, I think, really well through the high school and the college system, people get our brand. It really resonates with them. So CrossFit's so big here, Orange Theory's so big here, but there's for ease for the people who are listening, you know, we sit right smack bang in the middle of that. It is the easiest way to kind of, I guess, conceptualize it. And so, you know, we've found that our sales have been so strong here because of that. People just go, oh my God, yeah, you know, I used to do training in college, but there's nowhere to go for that sort of strength and conditioning style of training. So it's been nice to see. And we've got some really big growth happening across the world with opens. We've got obviously half of our stores are open, half are not open. So we're excited about that growth, and hopefully the 1,000th sale is not too far away, and that'll be a little tick in the box to sell the 1,000, but then we've got to get them open and get the people through the front door.
I'd say that's a pretty big tick in the box, Cam. When you get 1,000 sold, for people who are listening and may be interested in exploring, being a franchise, like what are some of the, I haven't looked at your franchise documentation, so I apologize, but like, square footage, investment, like, all the basic fundamentals of what it takes to open one of these.
Yeah, I won't talk specifically to the US because Expo run it, so I'm not as close to the numbers, but I can talk square feet. So square feet's around about 2,200 square feet, which in Australia is 240 square meters. Around about 250,000 as an investment. So we're a low investment, high yield model. We have an average payback period in the regions where we operate of 19 months.
Wow.
And we have an average opening member number of 161, I think it is currently, which means that 90% of our sites are making money day one. And we work really hard on that. Again, that goes back to that education and support that we were talking about. It's not just on the core product, but it's on, system sales and processes and marketing to make sure that we know that when sites open with like 120 members and less, they become what we call red flag sites. They struggle. We know that when they open with over 150, they're strong, viable, their growth, they see a quick upward, that hockey stick type spike in their member number. And so we really focus on that and educate them on that, and support them through that. It's really important. We have free franchise performance managers that 1 per 30 franchisees to make sure that they're well supported, their hand is held. It's still their business, and we want them to bring their own DNA and flavor to it. But our responsibility is to make sure that they are successful and also that they're staying on brand. And, we operate in what we call a flexibility within the framework. So the framework that's BFT, and that's the system. That's the franchise system, much like a McDonald's. But the flexibility within that is the individuals and bringing their personality to the business, their flair, on the floor, member engagement, marketing, as long as it stays on brand. So we really encourage that. We are a system. We do have our processes as a brand, but we also want to embrace, individuals, and everyone's different, right? Everyone brings something to the table that's valuable. So let's all embrace that and also then share across the network what those things are that are successful. And hopefully if we can share those things and, share best practice across different areas of the business, then we all benefit and continue to grow.
Yeah. It's so funny, Cam, like that number 150 you and I were talking about prior to recording.
Yeah.
Like it's just, the Dunbar number 150, like whatever, it just seems so universal across, especially the boutique fitness landscape. It's just so funny to me. Like, why? It's such a clean number, right? But it's just really interesting. I want to get on the actual like consumer experience at BFT. You mentioned technology, you mentioned training, you mentioned equipment. Maybe we could dive into the specifics, like, what makes the consumer experience unique at BFT compared to, like the CrossFit and the Orange Theories. You guys kind of come in the middle. What makes it special?
Yeah. So the premise of every week that we do in our programming is that we try and target each of the 3 muscle fiber types. We target the 3 energy systems and the 3 fascial planes of movement. So what we're trying to do is give people a well-rounded experience with their exercise and that journey, so that they're not overloading on one energy system. They're developing them all. They're not overloading on, say, sagittal plane movement, which is very common in the fitness industry. so that their joints, their muscles, their tendons are getting challenged in different ways, means, and methods to limit injuries, to limit overuse, to allow them to keep coming back and progressing. The other thing with that we layer is the modality. So we have a lot of different modalities, from Olympic barbells to competition kettlebells to power bands and suspension training, and the use of BOSUs and foam rollers and those sorts of things. So we use a lot of different modalities to support that system. And then we do everything in 8-week training cycles, Eric. So we, much like doing, a mesocycle in elite conditioning, we look at the macro, the year, and then we just break it down into individual sort of microcycles. And we have a theme to every 8 weeks, and the programming. So we have 14 programs. You won't see all 14 of those programs in an 8-week cycle. So we don't just put things in for the sake of it. Everything is in for a rhyme and a reason. When we program, we start with strength as the base. We believe, and I believe, that strength is a foundation for all physical performance at some level.
Great.
And so we go, okay, what's the theme for the strength cycle? What are the exercises we're putting in? What do we want to end up with at the end of the 8 weeks? And let's work backwards. And then what are the other resistance programs that are in the cycle, and how do they support getting a good outcome in the strength training? So for our hyper program, which is like a functional bodybuilding style program, we will do a lot of different stability, unilateral movements, multiplanar stuff, where we're looking at, okay, if we're wanting to get better at our squat, how do we get better back strength and hip stability, as an example, very simple example. So we'll consider all of those things, and then we put it into a training cycle, and then they're tested. We actually have a fantastic team of people who put the programs together, and then we actually physically test every single program. Because sometimes when you write it, you don't get what you think you're getting, and you're like, oh man, I've got the end of the week and my shoulders are killing me, or hamstrings are killing me. Okay, we're going to change that. So then that gets reviewed, and then we lay that with technology. So we have a heart rate system. It's our own system. We spent 4 years building it. Where one of the things I saw that I was frustrated with typical heart rate systems in the fitness industry that have gamification is they're only rewarding higher exertion. Get your heart rate to 89, 85%, you're getting 4 points per minute or whatever. But if you're strength training and you're doing a 3RM back squat, which is, high 80s, maybe 90% max exertion, if you're doing a proper, genuine 3RM, you're not actually getting rewarded for that yet. That's bloody hard, as you know. Like, it's tough, right? And so then you go and have a 4-minute rest period, and your heart rate comes right down. Then you do another 90% max effort again. And these heart rate systems weren't rewarding that. So we went back through 4 years of data and had a look at, okay, how are our members responding when we program our strength programs and we do different exercises, and how they're responding to, say, strength endurance. And we developed a system that we could quantify that and then reward being in the heart rate zone specific to that exercise, and even more specific to that set. Because as you know, if you do 5 sets of back squats at a 3RM, you are going to accumulate stress, which means your heart rate will be higher on the 5th set than what it is on the first set. And so we looked at 4 years, we looked at millions and millions of rows of data, and this is the nerdy side of me, that you know what, let's flip this on its head and let's build our own system, and let's reward strength using heart rate. And so we have a heart rate system called Cubed, and it's an awesome tool for trainers, and it's an awesome tool for members, because I can be in a studio coaching, and Eric's on the squat rack, and I can see that it's his 3rd set. We have digital displays, so I can see that it's his 3rd set, and I can see that it says that he should be around 65% of his max heart rate. And if you're not, it's really simple. Is Eric got good technique? Yep. I know him. He's a member. I should know about his exercise history, so I know he's capable. Eric, how you feeling today? Yeah, I'm good, Cam. I'm no problems at all. Hey, mate, let's put a little bit more weight on the bar. And you're now going to elicit a physiological response. So let's just say you put another 5 kilos on the bar. It's going to slow you down. So a slower time under tension allows your heart rate to get a little bit higher. You hit your target, you get a better result. You feel like you're being coach, which you are. It's a personal experience because your heart rate and your response is your response. And so something as simple as that has had huge sweeping change. So it's a very long answer to your question, so I apologize. But yeah, we do 8-week training cycles. We progress and cycle them throughout the year, and then we layer that with technology. I think most importantly, none of our programs go to any of our franchisees until we've actually physically tested them with a cohort of 14 to 20 people.
I love it. I really do, especially quantifying the strength training in a way that's meaningful to the consumer, right? That's been a big challenge. I know the people at Tonal have been on that. Like, how do we reward, make people feel rewarded? Because you do like a workout with a heart rate monitor. It's like, oh, I burned this many calories. Cool, because I was on a bike, right? Like, that's what everyone cares about. And they're like, yeah, yay. But you do like a strength set and it's like, meh, like there's not much you can really get back from those technologies. So it's not as motivating as it could be. And obviously you're a guy who loves program design and loves the performance side of things. And be quite honest, so was I. Like, I did all the program design for my gym for 7 years, and I geeked out on. That's why I was attracted to James Fitzgerald, who was my coach and mentor for a long time. Here's a question though, and this strikes to the heart of many people who do program design for gyms, is like how much we care. We love it. We think it's really important, but how much does the end consumer care about program design? Like, and how much can you influence their caring about it? Because we know it's important, right? A well thought, they just see numbers on a board and they go through the workout and they show up that day. They don't know the thought that goes into and the planning and, the intricacies of how we're trying to keep them safe, yet moving on a progressive timeline. Like, there's just a lot that goes into it. So, how do you approach making the consumer care more about the programming, or is that even a thought? You just do it because it's the right thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The simple answer is that I really don't think they give a shit about the programming. But it's a bit like the question around the support that we give trainers and in different areas of our business as well to keep them on that journey and learning and growing. Is we know a lot of trainers don't understand. A lot of PTs don't understand the complexities around heart rate training. And that's just, I'm not being facetious, it's just a fact, right?
Yeah.
And so if educated people in our industry don't know that or aren't really, experts at it, then we've got to understand the consumer just has no idea. And so that the programming isn't the important bit. For me, what the important bit is, first of all, engage them and give them a great experience, and to the word you used earlier, provide value. Because if they're having fun and they're feeling like they're getting value, they're coming back. The more they come back, I think then there's an opportunity to educate. And what we've seen in our network is once you can get them asking questions about the programming, I noticed that was different. I'm feeling different. I've done, I'm in the 6th week of the cycle. I feel way better. I can tell I'm stronger. I'm getting a little bit deeper in my squat. You've got them. Like, your job's done, to a large degree. And so for me, it's get them back, get them engaged in exercise and feeling the benefits and enjoying it. And, like CrossFit and We Do and other models that are really good at building communities, get them into the community and make this part of their life. Because too many people have a gym membership and only go once a week. That's the average, just over 1 day a week around the world. So as an industry, I think we're failing. Let's be brutally honest about that.
Yeah.
So for me, no, the programming is not important to the consumer. It's really important to us. But I think if we can engage them and get them to feel the value of the programming that we do, once we do that then leads to a different level of experience for your business, but also for the consumer. And like any industry, I think that we should always be trying to raise the bar. Doesn't matter what it is. And the more educated consumers out there is going to lead to better standards in our industry. So at some stage we do have to educate them, but no, they don't come to BFT because of the programming. It's the local gym around the corner. It's our marketing, and it's the community and relationships is what keeps them coming back.
Yeah, it is. And it's, I had, Mike Robertson on the podcast recently, who's, really, really solid coach, great gym, great educator. I mean, he's been doing this for, I think, 26 years, something like that. I asked him, like, how much of great coaching is the soft skills, And he's like, man, I think it's like 60, maybe more percent. And I was like, I didn't disagree, but just to hear him say that number, right? I was like, it's true. Like the environment that you create. And it's the old adage of, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And I hate to sound cliched, but it's true. People need to be in an environment where they feel supported, they feel welcome. And it's those little things, right? Like just calling someone by their name or giving them a pat on the back or, hey, how's Susie doing in school, right? Like those little things that you remember about your clients that create this environment that allow us to do the work that we want to do as trainers and coaches. We have to create that first and then get to the space where we can start educating them about all the beautiful intricacies of program design and movement and nutrition and all of that. So I presume that's something that you guys instill as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's potentially higher than 60% to be honest. And we talk a lot about cueing, which is the soft skills to a degree. As trainers, we tend to want to be really technical and overcomplicate stuff versus
super guilty over here.
We've all done it, right? And I think the longer you're in the industry, you just get better at it, and that's the evolution of becoming or going from a trainer to being a genuine coach. And so we try and educate our trainers when we onboard them around, first of all, assess risk. That's the most important thing. No one should get injured in what is a controlled environment, which is the gym. We're not playing NFL football where shit happens and you're going to get injured. So first of all, let's do the best thing to mitigate risk. So Eric's doing deadlifts. Is he in a good position? Has he got good form? Understand his background, and then let him go to a degree. If all that's good, your form's good, your loading's good, your breathing's good, all you have to do maybe is walk past and give Eric a pat in the backside and say, hey, keep going, man. That's awesome. That's it. And that's coaching, right? And that doesn't take much effort, but Eric's all of a sudden going, yeah, they're keeping an eye on me. They're seeing me, versus trying to fix sometimes all these subtle nuances and intricacies with, lat engagement as an example of your grip. And just in our environment in BFT, that we often don't have time to do that because it's a sort of a faster moving group training environment. It's super important, but is it going to change the life of that member, in that point in time? Probably not, as opposed to a positive affirmation. So we talk about, external and internal and then neutral cues. And I think neutral cues are too underutilized in our industry. We use a lot of internal cues, which members don't understand. So, we should be trying to work a lot more on external cueing. But the neutral cues for me are really undervalued and underutilized because we want to overcomplicate things and get too technical and show our members how smart we are as PTs or whatever as trainers. So, yeah, the soft skills are so important. And, it's a cliche of less is more. It's just the reality sometimes. Less is more when it comes to coaching. And I just think it takes time to learn that. When you're young and you're so full of knowledge and passion and enthusiasm and you want to show everyone and give everything to everyone versus just sit back sometimes and just let them move. And when you need to step in, otherwise encourage them and engage them and make them feel special and have fun. And if you can do that, you're doing a great job, and you don't have to be too technical to do that.
Yeah, I love it. And you brought up a distinction that is one of my favorite things actually to discuss. So a trainer versus a coach, right? I mean, I know how I define that. I've talked about it numerous times on this podcast over the years, but what are the significant differences you see between a trainer and a coach?
Whoa, this is a good discussion. Well, first of all, I think time is critical. I don't think you can become a coach without having a significant amount of time and a significant amount of hands-on experience with athletes, whether recreational athletes or professional or other. So that for me is critical. And what comes with time is the learning that comes through observation. So we talk about having a good set of eyes. I think coaches have a really good set of eyes. They can assess that risk and reward. They can assess and know it's not perfect, but if I overcomplicate that slight imperfection, is it really going to shift the dial in the performance? So it's the ability to understand what's important and what's not. It's also, those soft skills are really critical. It's being believable. When your athletes or your clients, do they want to get out of bed in the morning because they're coming to see you? Because they know you care. They know that they're going to get something out. You're going to provide value. You're going to be there with a smiling face. That's really important, and it's a tough job because we all have bad days, but you know what? You got to leave your shit at the door and put your game face on and bring your A game every single day, because that's what people are paying you for. So I think coaches have those really awesome soft skills. They know how to dial things up and dial things down. Sometimes it's performance based. Sometimes it's just a recognition that I can see Eric's having a shit day today. And you know what? We had this awesome session plan, but today's just not the day. That's coaching. And I think sometimes we just focus too much on the outcome of a performance. And I've seen this with athletes. I've seen athletes that aren't prepared to go into battle, but we've made them believe that they are, and they still perform at an exceptionally high level. You can't do that consistently, by the way, but you can pull it off. That our physical capacities are often really untapped. And so if you can engage this really powerful muscle up here, which a lot of us don't understand anywhere near as much as what we should, the brain is a really powerful muscle. And that's those soft skills that I think coaching, you'll learn about in coaching over time, because you just need to have experiences with different athletes, different injuries, different personalities, different moods, even different weather. How do people react to different weather? Things like that. So for me, it's a really broad. I've probably given you too broad of an answer, but
no, that's great.
The one thing I think it is, Eric, it's earned. I really don't like going to conferences and seeing people who wear t-shirts with coach on their back and they're 24, who might be fantastic, by the way, but I think, it's a badge of honor that you need to earn. Yeah.
Yeah. I love everything you said there, and it's such an interesting journey, and all the people that I've known that have come through the industry, 20, 30 years in the industry, they have such a respect for the profession, right? The Kelly Starretts, the Mike Robertsons, all these people, like, really, and the other thing they don't do, which I've noticed, is like, once you get to a certain level of experience and success within the industry, as the coaching industry, they never shit talk anyone else, ever. Right? It's just, it's mutual admiration. They may challenge an idea or concept, but they don't take down the person or the brand individually. Right. And it's more like everything is about, how can we make the profession better? Right? How can we, maybe sharpen each other's swords a little bit, but it's never disrespectful. It's always, because I think that's the point. It's like, you get to a certain point, you're like, that person's a coach because they earned it.
Yeah.
And they have deserved just as much respect as I want in return. I think that's a really that's why I love the coaching I talk about so much on this podcast. I think the coaching industry is so integral. We can try to supplement artificial intelligence for the coaching experience, which, who knows, man, may just happen. We may all have Arnold Schwarzenegger in our ear, with this highly developed coaching. I don't know.
I'm gonna put it out there. It's never gonna happen. I'm huge on that. It's never happening.
Yeah, I agree. But who knows, right? I'm just saying. But it's something that it's such a it's an honorable thing, and I would love to see coaches make more money. That's really kind of it, right? That would be great. As we kind of wrap this thing up, is like, I know you're in Vegas. You're meeting with the Exponential leadership team. I presume there's certain things. I mean, what can you share about 2024 going in next year, as far as like what your initiatives are, what you're planning, where you hope to be this time next year?
Yeah, it's been a really good couple of days with the Expo team, and you just forget how big a company they are, to be honest. And the beauty of being here at the conference is that they've just announced an 11th brand, but there's 10 existing brands that you can learn and share best practice from, which is awesome. But from a BFT perspective, they've just presented. We're releasing a new performance app, so it's where we do all of our strength testing and strength metrics through all of our cubed heart rate system, and all of our challenges and our nutrition platform. So that's going to be really exciting. That gets released in March next year to the network. So that's exciting. We've got a little bit of a sneak peek of that.
Cool.
We've just had a bit of a sneak peek at the development and on the innovations and technology side of things. So there's some exciting things coming in the next 12 months around how we deliver our programs and the look and feel of what that looks like from a digital display and member engagement perspective. We're getting better and more sophisticated at something as simple as our heart rate system, because we are just getting more data now and we're learning more ourselves. So we've got some refinements coming. That's really helping us with our to get better at our training and our programming. We're releasing some new education certifications. So all of the education that we do through our education vertical are certified in all countries around the world. So we've actually got how to train like a master trainer course coming.
Cool.
Which is exciting. Not quite that coaching pathway that we just spoke about, but it's getting people on that journey. So that's an exciting project that the team have been working on, and we're really, really keen to get that into people's hands and get feedback on that. So yeah, there's some innovation coming. There's more education coming. Certainly the Expo team have said that they're really focused on franchisee support this year. They realize that that's a big area for them to continue to support the franchisees as the brand grows, not just with BFT, but in other brands as well. So they've recognized as a business that they need to do that better, which is fantastic. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting. I think the industry is extremely resilient around the world. We've come out of COVID. We've had the Ukraine war and the effects of inflation, interest rate rises. It's been a tough 4 years to be really honest for our industry, and
very
just so good to see how resilient it is. And I think it's also been great to see people pull together in the industry and actually work more collaboratively to survive and to stay viable. So that's nice. And again, it's nice to see at Expo that's happening within their 10 brands. So it's an exciting time. I think hopefully we get a really good run at it with none of these macroeconomic challenges, and we are seeing people coming back to gyms, to pre-COVID levels, people having and changing their spending habits. So, gym memberships are now not really a discretionary spend. People are saying, this is important for my health, this is important for my lifestyle. So our challenge now is to add value. So we want to bring the education, we want to bring the innovation, we want to do the engagement, but we've got to keep providing value. And if we do that, I think we're going to have a really good 2024. Sorry.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, Cam, last question is, as an industry, people may want to reach out to you, but what do you need help with right now? How can we help you?
Oh, I need a lot of help. Yeah, to be honest, we're always looking to be better, and helping us is it can come in a range of ways. We love talking to other brands, businesses, people, individuals, and just learning, whether it's sales, whether it's programming, whether it's technology, just what are people doing and what's best practice that they see, and how can we learn and share that? Because the more knowledge you have, the more informed decisions you can make. And if, as I said, one of the great things coming out of COVID, I think, was the industry sort of bonding a little bit better and getting more collaborative. And I think for me, how can that help me is people reaching out and saying, hey, I love what you're doing, or I'm interested in what you're doing. This is what we're doing, and just sharing, talking. I love having, the water cooler conversations. I think that's where the most value comes from. Whether it was at university or at a conference, most of the value comes from the water cooler or the coffee conversations. And I really enjoy that. I've learned and enjoyed this conversation. So for me, collaboration. People can help by being collaborative. I love what you said about those experienced coaches. That I work really hard with our team to say, never talk down other brands. Everyone has a place. We have a place. We're just different. We're just us. Just be the best at being us. But that doesn't mean we can't learn off other people and share our information either. So, I'd love to collaborate more. That'd be really helpful to me. And if anyone wants to reach out, I'm not massive on social media, to be honest. So it's probably get me on my email address, which is cameron@bodyfittraining.com. But yeah, I love collaborating. So that'd be a huge help.
Awesome. Well, Cam, I really enjoyed our conversation, and obviously you put in the time to get to where you are, and you seem to have a nice balance of patience and urgency, and and which is necessary, right? As a founder, you got to take the time to set the foundation, but then when it's time to build, you build. And I think it's a really cool lesson. So very much, thank you so much for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, Cam Falloon.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, mate. Great to see you.